Hi ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Genshin Impact. Today we're going to be covering Rosaria. We are finally going to be getting into weird phrasing, Argarth waifu weirdness. Anyways, so a lot of people have actually been sprouting up in terms of guides, in terms of videos. I've been seeing all around Reddit and all around YouTube and all these things. Around showcasing Rosaria's affinity towards being a main DPS, which is really helpful because she actually may be very useful for free-to-play players who may be rolling a banner and happen to get her. Good. But I haven't really seen people take her to the massive extent of support capabilities that I believe she's capable of, basically. And I'm at that point. So we're going to get into Rosaria's best support builds, going over why I think things are the way they are, so that hopefully you guys can understand why I made the choices I made as well as going over some weapon variety that you can kind of use for her. But all I'll say is I personally am holding off on making a main damage dealer, carry kind of version or build of Rosaria, because there might be an artifact set coming out in the future that is really made for her, and I hate the idea that some people are going to be spending points or resin on artifacts that are not going to be her best in a couple months. So just bide your time and be patient, unless you need a DPS. In that case, it's a marginal increase, the new artifact set that potentially maybe could be coming, but it's nothing going to break the game. But still, why not strive for the absolute best? I digress, but ladies and gentlemen, let's get into Rosaria and how I've kitted her out. Well, first of all, she looks fantastic, she's great. We don't need to perv out or get the bonk stick, alright? So, I have not leveled her up to the highest point, but it's kind of fine because the way she scales in her leveling up is attack-based. She gets more and more attack and defense and etc., but whatever. Attack percentage, good, but not like crit rate or crit damage. Now, if you guys are unaware, so Rosaria is one of the best support DPS kind of characters in the game, but it's very different from the other, probably best main support carry, which is Xingqiu. Xingqiu basically amplifies damage with his damage. Rosaria amplifies your consistency, your damage. Also, she has one of the most useful elements in the game, which is cryo, right beside water and of course fire. Giving you Vaporize or Melt. Now, Vaporize is king, but Melt is still a really good consolation prize, of course. Now, with all that being said, let's get into her talents and specifically why you need to build Rosaria in a very specific way. Okay, so first of all, her talents aren't that leveled up. That's something that I just need to work on with Resin, Free-to-Play, Nightmare, all that. Anyways, the one thing that you're going to be wanting to use constantly and get back faster is her ults. Now, the reason why you want her ult to come back is because whenever you cast your ult, 15% of Rosaria's crit rate will be shared with your entire team. Now, the way this affects her kind of team synergy, which I want to make a video about in the future as well, who the hell she pairs well with, and we could test some things, but for right now, general consensus is Rosaria buffs up everyone's crit rate, not just the active player. So if you have Fischl, boom, and you activate Oz, and then you activate Albedo, and then you activate all these other characters. As long as you activate your ult, all of them will gain a base 15% increased crit rate. Massive, huge. Unfortunately, this is kind of capped because then maybe she's a 4-star or whatever, but it's capped at level 15% of whatever Rosaria's crit rate is, which is why it was so weird when I seen a lot of people saying like, hey, get Rosaria's crit rate up to like 60. It's like, well, you want to get Rosaria's crit rate at like as high as you possibly can, around like 90, because of this other perk that she has right here, which is whenever you use her E, she gets 12% crit rate. So if you use her E and then use her alt, you'll get that much. So you need a 12 minus 100 crit rate and you'll be fine, and you'll get the max out of her in that way. But sometimes your E's on cooldown, yeah, sure, all that stuff. So it's just you want a lot of crit rate with Rosaria. That's kind of the gist if you're going to be building her in a support kind of kit. Now, here is her base stats that I've gotten her. This is by no means perfect, but this should give you a general idea. So my crit rate is at 90, but as soon as I activate her E, it becomes 100, and then 15% of that is going to be translated into all of my characters. And the reason why I think Rosaria is going to be fantastic across the board is one thing that is so painfully frustrating is artifact farming, and I know this to a T because of Hu Tao. I have so many of a specific kind of artifact set, not by my own choosing, but because the game refuses to give me anything else. Crimson Witch of Flames did not get it to drop for ages. I was eating a lot of the other resist ones because I just don't want them anyway, but I got like tenfold of those of Crimson Witch rather than Crimson Witch. So anyways, I got a lot of this. But regardless, one thing that I was constantly fought with is I got very, very crappy hats. I got 2 out of the total of all of these, only 2 of which are critical rate, or critical based. So this one is critical rate, and this one is critical damage. All of these other ones are attack percentage and whatnot, and HP, which could be good, but I digress. The problem is that like I have too much crit rate, and then I have too little crit rate, and it's just kind of rough. But with Rosaria, I can bet heavily into crit damage and make up the difference with Rosaria, basically, with the crit rate decrease. Not only that, but Rosaria is also just consistently decent damage outputting kind of character. Now again, I don't want to diminish how valuable Rosaria can be within a main DPS kind of role, because the way your combo works is very valuable and interesting. It doesn't have like a long charge up between combo executions, which can be really valuable, but we're not going to talk about that in this video. I'm just saying that's a valuable thing that people are building, but just wait for the better artifact set is my stance. I digress. Now, how the hell do you attain these stats? Well, first of all, the easiest thing, of course, is to make sure that you get a critical rate crown headpiece and just max it out as much as you can. That's 30 crit rate right there. And now, if you want to go above and beyond, you can also just get a critical weapon, which this is the season pass weapon, the battle pass weapon, sorry. So I spent $14 and wailed out, I know, or guppied out, and I got this. And I leveled it up pretty fast, and again, it's not even fully leveled up at 70, so it can go beyond 30, but this is giving a 60 crit rate right here built in. And hopefully, you get a little lucky within some of her other stats, like this 9 crit rate right here, 7 crit rate right here, that's crit damage, 6 crit rate right here, and I believe, yes, 9 crit rate right there. Yes, I know, the cryo goblet is a little cracked, got lucky on that front. But I've been playing the game for fucking ever, so it is what it is. I digress. There's 1,000 different ways to build crit rate. You can just get really, really lucky with like 2 artifacts, and that basically make up for this one, and then you can go critical damage if you want, but I doubt most people have that relentless luck. But let's talk about the artifact substats. Now, I used to go full Blizzard Slayer, except then I finally clicked that, oh, it doesn't work in the way that I think it's working. Which, if you read it, it says, when a character attacks an opponent affected by cryo, they gain crit rate. But this is your attack. So I tried cryoing somebody and then hitting them and then opening up my substats to see if my crit rate jumped for that allotted amount of time. It didn't. So it's individual purpose to purpose. So if you're trying to make Rosaria like a main DPS carry, then this is a pretty good artifact for her. But if you're trying to yeah, it doesn't make sense with it trying to accrue as much consistent damage as say, obviously, an elemental burst damage, which is what we're going to be trying to feed into. So I don't really know why most people aren't running this kind of set. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm absolutely open to being lost in this, but I just don't understand why we're trying to use her elemental burst as much as possible, because it gives us massive crit rate and amplifies all of our other characters' damage, making them way more consistent, way better, allowing them to add more value within artifacts that we may not have ever been able to play with, like critical damage ones, just because we needed the critical rate at the time. And now Rosaria can kind of help circumnavigate that. That's huge. Why would we not want to passively buff our elemental damage on a passive? Why do we need more crit rate when facing a single target character when most people aren't going to be playing Rosaria for any more than a couple seconds, unless you're using her as a main DPS? In that case, by all means, go forth and conquer. But yeah, I kind of get lost in a little bit of that, so that's why we're running 2-piece Cryo, 2-piece Blizzard, is because we're trying to run Rosaria in the most support a DPS kind of mode, which normally, or conveniently, this also just amplifies her base damage. The Blizzard's, the Elemental Burst, and the Cryo damage buff, it will just amplify every other thing that she's doing. But because we're trying to get to her Elemental Burst so that all of our other characters can benefit from the crit rate, it all feeds into itself as Rosaria just, if you want to buff up her damage, you're inadvertently going to be doing the thing that she's already going to be doing. Now that brings me to my second point, weapons for support. This one's a little rough, because of course we are using this one, like I said, to get critical rate, but I find I don't need, like, Hu Tao's got a decent amount of critical rate as is. I don't need an excessive amount of it. I only need like 20% or 20 more crit rate than I already have, which is, I think, pretty attainable. The one thing that I am finding with Rosaria is I need more energy recharge, and I'm hoping, like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to find like a Noblesse Oblige set that just has a shit ton of recharge, and I'm just going to lower her attack, and that's the way I'll go about it. But basically, I need a lot more uptime on her ults. So I feel like I might want to go with this one because we get a little bit of critical rate, but we also get a pretty decent amount of energy recharge. I would have rather went with Favonius Lance, but Zhongli is already kind of rocking that, and I don't want to take that away from him. So I'm kind of caught in this weird rock in a hard place kind of vibe. It's honestly not the best. Anyways, but if you're in desperate need of a shit ton of crit rate, then of course this weapon will take you all the way home. As well as the Crescent Pike, by the way, is great for physical damage, but again, we're not trying to do that. We're trying to just give her support capabilities, so we could use the Favonius Lance. I think is probably one of her best in slots. I think it's a hard tie between her support capabilities. With it's either this one, which just gives you a crazy amount of crit rate, or of course it's the energy recharge of the Favonius Lance, and maybe the Skyward Harp, being kind of the mutation of both. I digress. But ladies and gentlemen, let's go mess around with support capabilities Rosaria. So first of all, this is the team that I've been running. Let me just show you guys at a passive what like our two main characters are going to be, which of course is Hu Tao, who is rocking the stats that you guys can see. And before you, also, she's always like Hilly Churl, this, that, the other. Got it. We got not great energy recharge. We got a shit ton of pyro damage. We got tons of weird resistances, because of course we do. I don't know why that's the case, but it is. And we got an okay amount of crit rate. Again, with Rosaria, that's going to hopefully bump it up to being a manageable, good amount. We also have her on a crazy amount of elemental mastery just by accident. Lucked out on that, regardless. We have Rosaria, again, massive crit rate was the main thing I focused on. A second thing was energy recharge, and then of course the last thing was cryo damage, so you're rocking 61 cryo bonus damage and an okay amount of attack. Nothing absolutely ludicrous, but let's see. Also, Hu Tao is on death's door, but that's kind of where she just always is, being a funeral parlor person and all that. Also, I will make Hu Tao videos, but God help me, was the artifact thing a nightmare? And now that we finally have Rosaria, we might be okay. So first of all, let's just build up some particles. I'm going to suck in this. We're going to activate this. We're going to switch back to her, suck up those particles. We're going to do some of this. Doing these. I hit the wrong goddamn button. Hate it. Alright, we're going to do this because it's back. Alright, now those particles should let me... Nope. Again, I need a little more recharge. This is a little rough. A little rough out here. Okay, so those particles should take us home. So now, oh, by the way, we're going to get into like her team, but the reason why my team is laid out in the way that it is Zhongli gives a shield, which protects Hu Tao for her weakness, for low health, which just helps. Also, it decreases the elemental resistance of everybody, and also physical resistance, so it's just great. Zhongli, crazy, stacked, all that. But we want the vaporized combo synergy, as well as just the immensely additive damage that Xin Shou brings, so we're going to go ahead and use him quite a bit. And that's going to help with that, and then we're going to use Rosaria for crit rate as well as melt. So worst case scenario, we'll just freeze an enemy in place, and that's also incredibly helpful for the bigger enemies that can smash you to pieces eventually when they cut through Zhongli's shield. And also Zhongli's built to have a good bit of damage as well through his ult. So that's kind of the way these characters are built and set up. So yes, so the method to the madness works as followed. We're going to do this. Now when we do that, we activated our E, you guys can see that now our crit rate is 102. Massive amount of crit rate, right? So now, we are going to activate her ult. I should probably have Zhongli's shield here actually equipped. In fact, let's just, why is he, there it is. Jeez, we're gonna do one of these. One of these. Now we're gonna go ahead and look. So yes, now you guys can see that we have 61 crit rate with Hu Tao. Boom! And 188 crit damage. Oof! That is workable. That is manageable. And we got, where is it? Pyro damage, 102 pyro damage. Whoo! Yes! So needless to say, everything will die really fast here. Yeah, we're just gonna kill everything, and it's just, everything gets killed in like a couple shots, and yeah, I can't even see the damage numbers. Also, Hu Tao is just climbing like a freak. Is what it is. Oh, I love shields. They're my favorite thing. It doesn't totally just wreck the whole build because it just slows everything down real hard. And we're just gonna quickly do one of those, and he's dead. And then we're just gonna run up here real quick. We're just gonna say, stop. Stop it. and then Hu Tao is just gonna power up and get rid of both of them, and they're quickly dead. And yeah, Rosaria essentially just gives like a crazy amount of consistency. Also, I don't have any of her skills really leveled up, but she also crits all the time. So yeah, but she also is not built for DPS, so that's why things are a little sketchy in that department. Oh, this is the perfect place to showcase her skill. It's still happening, right? I think we can, yeah. All right, cool. All right, so let's showcase Rosaria and Hu Tao's like melding capabilities as best I can. And by the way, I still think there is like an advantage that I haven't quite gotten with Hu Tao and Rosaria, which I want to unlock, and that's when I fully have enveloped their talents, which a lot of their talents are not that leveled up at all. I believe most of them are at 5 and 6. So nothing's beyond that. So, and leveling up talents can massively amplify your damage. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and mess around with this. I wish they kept this, man. This is just kind of a fun place to kind of be around. So, simple as you think. One of these, or we're gonna do one of this, this, and this. And now we're doing like 11,000 per hit. If vaporize, whatever proc. Why isn't Vaporize proccing? Sometimes Vaporize doesn't proc because I'm not sure if it's Shincho's swords that are proccing it. But yeah, sometimes it gets weird because other times I notice I'm just smashing the world, and other times not so much. It feels kind of bad. Also, it's the charge attacks that are just nutty. Yeah, 11. I was 10,000 right there on one hit. Again, Rosaria, we want to be switching to constantly, keeping that applied. Shincho is also wanting to be used constantly. Oh, why did it hit me? Well, yay! Don't look at the big guy. Why would you ever do that? We're gonna drop this. We're gonna do this. We're gonna start meleeing. See, look at that. Yeah, see, the cryo damage is doing 3k to 6k on crit, which is pretty damn amazing, honestly. We're also gonna do one of these, kill everyone in the area. Oh, but he's fucking me up. He's fucking me up. This. Ooh, I didn't time it right, but it's fine. I keep trying to do charges, and sometimes it doesn't work within the combo. It's kind of frustrating. Yeah, 6,000, 10 to 12,000. I've also done 20,000 if I can ever like proc my charge properly. But sometimes it's rough out here. Sometimes the game's like, no, I don't see anything. But also, she's making everything more consistent and better. Especially like someone like Zhongli, who doesn't have the highest crit rate. When I activate her alt and activating all of theirs, it just guarantees them having the highest conceivable damage imaginable, which is huge. Incredible, all that stuff. Again, I do need to apply more consistency to her ult though, because there is some times where I do have to sit there and kind of build. And with playing Hu Tao, I can't. I don't have that time. Like or at least I shouldn't have that time, you know.
Solidify. You can't run. Witness the power.
We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this.
Judgment.
Gather.
I do want to try one thing, because I noticed as much as the crit rate is very, very helpful and it's kind of like perfect, I think the thing I should do at this point is I should just swap out one of these for instead of attack percentage, instead of doing that and going for something else, because I already have a good bit of crit rate, so I don't need this. But if I could go for like energy recharge, that would be amazing, because that's the thing that I need to keep up. That's the thing I want to keep up, is just that consistent energy recharge, and I unfortunately don't have that. So hi ladies and gentlemen, me here in post and or in editing. I just want to talk you guys ear off about some stuff that I was noticing. Essentially, one of the things that I need to change in order to make this really, really viable is, of course, Rosaria's energy recharge. That's like kind of the catalyst to you being able to use her as a support consistently. And yes, you can get that from your weapon, but I would much rather just get it from an artifact, especially considering I'm not really looking for Rosaria to be a main damage dealer, so I would supplement the attack for an energy recharge watch. And also, again, you guys have to remember their talents are very, very, very low, so they can still pretty much hit for 6k if I were to level them up, most likely. And yeah, I think the team composition is what I want to get into in an entirely different video, but that's like a whole thing in itself, because I was noticing that there was some interesting things happening with Shincho and all that kind of stuff, but also again, Vaporize is a much better multiplier than Melt. I'm not sure if you guys knew that, but I should probably mention that in the video. But yeah, Vaporize I think is 100% more damage, a Melt is 50%, so it's pretty big. Pretty big change. But like I said, guys, when eventually I get everything to the perfect extent, I would love to show you guys the entire package, the team composition, the characters working in sequence, destroying Spiral Abyss, all of those lovely things. So if you're interested in any of that content, hopefully go ahead and follow. Thank you so much. And here's me basically discovering a lot of things I just mentioned, the desire and need for recharge and etc. No, but I definitely think this, again, my main thing is I'm trying to supplement energy recharge through a route that isn't best, which again, I should just take away the, like, she shouldn't have attack here, because she doesn't, unless you just got really lucky with substats with like energy recharge. Like I got lucky with some crit damage and whatnot, which is not good if I don't want to build her for damage base, you know, or like main DPS based. So to have her with something else would be pretty amazing. Again, like energy recharge, which I feel like a lot of people have a tendency to get more than crit rate. Also, I didn't mention her passive other buffs, which are kind of nice too, but like she gets more movement speed when the sun's down, so when the moon's out and it's nighttime, she can book it. But yes, my friends, that was Rosaria, an absolute badass of a character. She looks fantastic, as well as, again, I think that's the thing that I don't think is talked about as much, but she seems like she can slot into any team because of the way she has crit rate. Now I wish, like if I'm being honest, I really do wish it was more than 15%, because the fact that it is such a small percentage means you need to get a silly amount of crit rate. Like I've never gotten a character past 70 or 60 crit rate, to be honest. But this is my first character where I physically got her all the way up to 90, but that's with like weapons and artifacts, and both of those are taking the place of what DPS things could as well. But that's what she needs, and again, this to me will enable me to play Hu Tao in a way that makes her kind of rounded off and perfect. But I will say there are some like hiccups, because there's like a weird thing with elemental delay in the game that kind of is frustrating, but I had it a couple times when I was doing the things where I was just like, come on, like Shincho's arrows hit the fire person, which therefore takes the proc of Vaporize but makes it less, so which sucks. You almost want like an enemy to be wet and then to hit them with fire, then you're the thing that's adding the Vaporize. It's weird and frankly frustrating. But that's not Rosaria's fault, right? That's my other characters built in the way that they are. You can also build Shincho to be a high damage character, but I haven't built to be kind of like a healer as well, which is probably not the best. I digress. I don't think it's fair to have her tiers so low, because they are very low for what she hopefully can be, even if it's just her E. But alas, ladies and gentlemen, I digress. That is Rosaria. Fantastic. That was a support build, again, having as much crit rate as we possibly can, so that 15% can carry over to, of course, feeding into our other characters, but also all of the characters. I want to mention that heavily. Again, if you have Oz, fantastic. If you have Zhongli with his pulsating pillars, if you have Albedo pulsating with those pillars, all of their crit rate is getting amplified. But then the question becomes, you want to get as much crit rate as you possibly can, but you also want to get as much energy recharge as you possibly can as well. And there's many ways to do that as well. It kind of depends on like scaling things with artifacts, using this in place of that, and yada yada yada. But ladies and gentlemen, I digress. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you guys do enjoy the rest of your day, and goodbye.